So that was the E natural minor scale. And again, the difference is the intervals after the 6th note, going to the 7th note, and then to the 8th note. So up to the first 6 notes, the sound of the strings all the same. And then the final 2 notes is the 7th note, which is an open D. So again, it's the sound that's the main difference. There's a lot less tension than the previous example as the harmonic minor, where you had that leaping interval. So the notes we're using here, and again we've got a key signature of F sharp. So we've got an open E, an F sharp, G, open A, fretted B, fretted C, open D, fretted E. This scale is probably easier to play using other notes. So, you can experiment if you're confident with and you know the names of all your notes. You could actually play this all in the 2nd position. So there the difference was that I was using a fretted A rather than an open A. There's my fretted A on the E string on the 5th fret. There's my open A. The other difference was fretted D, fret 5 on the A string, instead of open D. It depends on your level of confidence if you want to play this scale in that position or just play the easier open position. I would suggest that if you're taking an exam that you play the easiest option. It's much easier to control. But if you're confident and you want to find your way about the fretboard, this is another area that scales will really help you, because then you can start to set yourself challenges. Can you play the whole scale all the way on one string? And of course, it's perfectly possible. I wouldn't choose to do that in an exam, but it's certainly a good way to explore the fretboard. So if you're that kind of player that you need to certainly feel that you want to know all the notes on the fretboard, it wouldn't hurt you to be able to do that. But definitely, I would play it in this position. So go through your usual checklist, which is tone production, placement of the fingers, and in this instance it's the thumb. Check that you've got your fingers in the right position if you're going to be resting your fingers on a string. Decide before you play the scale whether you're going to rest the fingers, index on the G, middle on the B, ring on the E, or all 3 on the E, or however you want to do it. Whatever's comfortable, and make sure that thumb's slightly ahead of the fingers, just so they don't clash when you go further down and you start playing on that D string. And if your index finger's in the way and too close to it, you don't want to be too close. You want a bit of space between the thumb and the index finger. That generally promotes relaxation in the right hand. That also helps tone control. Decide how much nail you're going to be using if you use nails, or if you're going to be using a lot of flesh. And in fact, using flesh with the thumb is a very jazzy and a very soft sound. So if I try and play more, rather than using my nail now, I'm going to try and use more of the flesh on my thumb. You can hear it's almost slightly scratchy where it's rather than against the nail. So in other words, when you play with a little bit of nail and a little bit of flesh, you get a faster attack. But when you play on the pad of the thumb, you find you've got more surface area, so it's a kind of slower stroke. But I prefer playing with the nail. I think it's a better sound. And then on the left hand, the usual things: allow yourself that stretch over so you can reach this F sharp on that 6th string. I think that's the most important note. And lesser experienced players might want to be using their little finger on the 3rd string rather than the ring finger. The ring finger always feels like a bit of a stretch, and for me, my ring finger is slightly shorter than my middle finger. Some people have a long ring finger and they don't have so much of a problem. But it's all going to be about how much you stretch over and how much you can tilt the hand. I certainly tilt my hand very slightly further in this direction towards the headstock because I've got a short ring finger. It's minute, the adjustment, but it's still an adjustment. And then just make sure that you're playing a nice comfortable tempo and that you're thinking ahead of the notes that you're going to be playing, just so you're nice and relaxed and you've got it all in hand. If you were in an exam or you were playing a jazz improvisation and you need to use this scale over one particular chord, this idea of being prepared and a fast response, this is where it becomes quite important. So just planning ahead what you're going to do.